What's up, people? I am back for another video. Here to talk about the not new, but the shitty 2014 Robocop movie that I don't understand why this was greenlit. I will never understand it, sorry. I, I don't get it. Like, everything that made that original is, like, not in this. I'll admit, the suit he has in the beginning before they like paint it black, I actually didn't mind, but then they changed the color. The action is boring. You made it PG-13. That is the biggest thing. The PG-13 thing really just doesn't help. And it's sad because this movie has like a cast. You have Michael Keaton. You have Gary Oldman. Joel Kinnaman's not a bad actor either. You have Jackie Haley's in this, but he really isn't given much to do. He's like a drone guy. Like, this movie just all around was a bad idea. For one, okay, before I go into it, tomorrow I'm reviewing the movie Chopper, so that's going to be like a new kind of going in blind, so that'll be an interesting watch. But Robocop 2014, like the R rating is what made that original. Like, they changed Murphy's death in this. In the original, he gets shot to shit, tortured. In this one, it's a car explosion, which is kind of lame. It's very anticlimactic. Just the car blows up, and then that's it. And then they take his body. It doesn't work. I like the concept of exploring Murphy and his family, like, before he gets in the suit, but the problem is his family are dull as dog shit. They are so fucking dull that, like, oh my, like, every scene you see with his family, it is painful. Especially the kid, like, just so deadpan. So fucking deadpan. It's like, you don't have none of that. Raymond Sellers basically the opening was kind of cool, but then they never explored again. Like, they were in the Middle East with machines, but it goes to shit. So, and you don't even have like that news like you have from the first movie, where like it shows you how dystopian this world really is. The world isn't even dystopian in this version. It just feels like, okay, we're in a more futuristic world where there's cyber tech and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like Robocop 1 was dystopian. Like, it wasn't just a sci-fi world, it was very dystopian. You don't get that in this. It just feels like, oh, it's just a world with tech. And that's not what Robocop was. So after there's like a law that's passed that you can't use like machines anymore, Sellers basically they come up with a concept for a Robocop. Essentially, it's not even done the right way like in the original. It's just kind of everything's half-assed in this, and it's great. Like I mentioned it before, the cast is really good, especially like the lead. Well, Joel Kinnaman's a decent actor. I don't know if he was like a big name actor by this point, but like you have Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson, who he's just like forgot the guy's name is Novak or something. He's like some news dude, and he just kind of feels randomly in the movie. He doesn't actually feel like he's part of the movie. At least Michael Keaton and Gary Oldman are actually involved in the Robocop story. Samuel L. Jackson really isn't. He's just like he's like the news guy you kind of got in like that first Robocop, but it was done better. In this, it's just it just awkwardly cuts to Samuel L. Jackson over and over again. He doesn't feel like he actually is even in the movie. He just feels like, oh, we're going to cut to Samuel L. Jackson for something. I don't like the new suit. I don't want to go too into it because I got to go into it when I go more in the review, but my God. I don't like how, like, making it black was stupid. And he has, like, the one human hand, which is dumb. You should have just gone all out cyborg. And, so they alter his programming, basically to make it seem like he has free will, but he really doesn't. Kind of eventually realizes and he realizes he was set up by his own police people. And the final act is so bad, dude. Because the Ed 2 fight like you got in the first one, in this is like 2 seconds. And I don't like the Ed 209s in this. They don't even, the Ed 209, that original, had a unique look. The ones in this movie, just like, those can be in like Terminator. Like, I could see those in like Terminator Salvation or some shitty like killer robot movie that's derivative of Terminator. It doesn't, the Ed 209s in this don't have like a unique design at all. And I get it, you have to modernize it a bit, but my god, when you did that, you honestly should have just done like a tweaked version of the original. That's all they really had to do. You could have maybe changed the color, but at least give it that original design. Because that original Ed 209 had like a uniqueness about it. The one in this movie are just generic. I'd almost say they can just pass as like robots you could easily see in like a shitty sci-fi movie at the same time as this. Like, it just... so, yeah, this movie sucks. The score isn't there. It literally takes everything great about the original and just shoves it out just to make this. I honestly wonder if they really did, because the way it ends, they honestly could have done a sequel, but it flopped hard, thankfully. So, but yeah, this movie is hot garbage. Definitely don't recommend it. Just honestly, only watch the first one, maybe Robocop 2, but I'd honestly even skip Robocop 3. Though I would say Robocop 3 is definitely better than this. But yeah, definitely skip this one. This one isn't even Robocop. It just has the name. So, but other than that, I'm going to cheers really quick, and yeah. But, yeah. So we're going to get ready to dive into Robocop. So this movie opens up where we get, basically like a rip-off of kind of like what they did in the original with the news telling you what's going on in the world, but it's only Samuel Jackson. And like I mentioned, he just feels like... It almost feels like whenever he's on screen, I just thought of the word intermission. It feels like it's an intermission from the movie every time he's on screen, because he doesn't do anything of note. I don't even think he interacts with Robocop, not once. Because I thought I was misremembering, because I only watched this dog shit once. Because I thought Samuel Jackson was the villain, but yeah, it was Michael Keaton. Why is Samuel Jackson in this movie? I mean, I get it, why he's in the movie for paper, like on paper for business reasons, because it's Samuel fucking Jackson. But it's like, he literally doesn't do anything. He just is there. I get he's supposed to be the news, and I guess he's talking about Robocop, but like, you would think, because I remember one of the trailers, Samuel Jackson was super prominent. And then in this, he doesn't even interact with Robocop. It's such a bad movie. Okay. So we see like a reporter reporting what's going on. I think it's Iran. I could be fucking wrong. But and we see drones like kill a kid, like one of the Ed 209s, which I'm gonna reiterate, the Ed 209s in this just are garbage. They just look like generic robots you could see in like any other sci-fi. Like the Ed 209s had like a uniqueness about them, and that's the side rant. That's kind of like what a lot of these remakes I've noticed. I get it. You want to tweak some things so you modernize it, but when you do that, you take away that uniqueness and it just blends in. Like, this is the perfect example of that. That's 2014, this is well into the MCU. It just looks like an Iron Man suit. Granted, you don't have that like Iron Man suit no more, you're looking at his face, but it just feels like it, like a bad, because like after Iron Man, I remember, what was it, like, I think it was that first shitty G.I. Joe movie. They had like pseudo Iron Man suits. That's what this looked like. This almost looked like, because I read that this movie was planned apparently back in 2005, but it just feels like Iron Man happened, so we need to have our dude in an iron suit. It just looks bad. And that, and, oh, God, don't be started when you literally see his face, Murphy's face, the whole time. It was such a big deal in that first film when you actually first see Murphy's face as a cyborg. Because when he's Robocop, especially when he's first introduced, you don't see his face until, like, they finally show you it. And it's like, in this, it's just like half the fucking movie every time he's in the suit. It's because this was that era. We have to show the actor. You can't have the actor play it. It's so dumb because what filmmaking used to be, like, when you're a character in a mask, you stepped in that mask or helmet. You're that character. Like, whatever an actor is, like a Jason or a Michael, they're Michael or Jason. Why couldn't it was the same with Robocop. When Peter Welling got in that suit, he was Robocop. Yeah, there were the moments you saw his face. But no, largely, his face was covered. Especially in the first film. They made it like such a big deal when he finally showed his face. And then in this, you just half the fucking time anyway. I'm going ahead. So, the robots kill like a kid. And because of how fucked up it was, the government like deems they deem machines illegal. So Raven Sellers has to think of something, and he meets with Dr. Bennett, that's Gary Oldman. And honestly, Gary Oldman, even in bad movies, would be able to like stand it. He feels like generic. Honestly, if that wasn't Gary Oldman, that could easily have just been some other guy. So it's such a bad movie. Such a waste of good actors too. So Raymond meets with him because Dr. Bennett like builds machine parts for people who have lost limbs, and he basically wants to come up with a concept of basically Robocop. But they don't. I think Bennett says something about like the suitors don't fit. So, but that night, this is where we meet Alex Murphy, who I like Joel Kinnaman. I'm gonna reiterate, he's a good actor. I've seen him in good stuff. He's in Altered Carbon. He's actually a decent part of the first Suicide Squad. It's just in this, he is so shit. He is so shit in this movie. Like, he's so boring. Like, him and his family. It's like they took, like, Advil or whatever, like, sleeping pill or whatever. Because, my God, they are so boring in this. Every scene, it's like, and they don't even emote. Even when they're talking about something fucked up, it's, oh, hi, yeah. Like, very just non-emoting. It's like, what the fuck? Because I actually like the concept. I was thinking about this, watching this again. I'm like, I like the concept of actually showing Murphy's family before we actually see him get killed. You know, I actually like that idea. But then you get his wife is boring, he's boring, the kid's boring. I don't know if it's the actors and actresses' fault or if it's the script's fault. But my God, they were like, it was just so. This was like the part of the film I was cringing the most, honestly. Because I'm just like, can we just get to the action at least? Because if I had to say one slight positive, the action's okay. I would say it's for a PG-13 Robocop, it's tolerable. But it just doesn't save it. Like, and as much as I used to shit on Nostalgia Critic, I watched his review of this right after, and he made a really good point. The camera's so fucking shaky in this movie, even when like action isn't happening. It's just like a scene. You can just be like on a scene. I think is in the beginning where like Murphy's talking to his captain or something, and like the camera's shaking like a motherfucker. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah, the cinematography's bad, and this time they made, because there's a Lewis in this, but it's a guy. They made him they race swapped, gender swapped Lewis to a guy. You don't even have that same, like, it's fine if you want to reboot it and whatever. Okay, we're gonna make Lewis a guy in this, but at least give him that like that camaraderie. That's what made that first one especially so good, is that camaraderie built with Lewis. Because in the first one, Murphy's like a new cop, and Lewis is like, you know, more experienced, and you see their relationship grow, you know, even in the second one. And in this, it's just like, oh, hey, oh, this happened. very much just like, what the fuck, dude? Why did you like just took everything great about the first and just stomped on it in this? Just no camaraderie. You have a boring actor for Jack Murphy. Alex Murphy. Jack Murphy's a different person, sorry. Anyway, but it just doesn't work. So Alex Murphy dies in an explosion, which I despise. I despise that they did that. Like, what made Murphy's death so tragic in the original? He got shot to shit. He was tortured. He got shot by like multiple dudes. Got his hand shot off. His arm shot off. And in this, it's like, oh, he just an explosion where basically it was super CGI. And you don't even really see. You just kind of see him fly away for a second. That's it. You see him fly away for like a quick second, and then a bunch of CGI flame. It was so bad, dude. You don't even get that that personal death that we saw with the original Alex Murphy. In this, it's just explosion. So his wife grants sellers the right to Alex Murphy's body, basically so they can make him the Robocop. And I'll admit, the one scene where you see him like out of the suit and you just see what's left of him, I'll admit that's kind of gnarly. But it's like, why didn't they just make that R-rated? Why didn't you just go R-rated with that? Making like, that's what takes down the action. That's why I'm only saying the action is okay, because at least if it's been R-rated, I could at least be like, okay, there's some good gore kill scenes, you know? There's none of that in this. You see someone get shot, it's just like, oh. And I don't really like Robocop fighting robots, at least not in the first film. In this, it should just be mainly, because that's like one of the exercises, he's like fighting robots and shit. There's no dystopian, almost like, I feel like there's no need. I didn't even think about it, I just thought about this just now. You don't really, like in the original Robocop, there was a need for like robot cops and, Robocop specifically. In this movie, I don't feel like there's a need. Honestly, even with that one thing, realistically, I don't really see why you ban all drones. And even then, this world doesn't feel that dystopian to where, do you really need machine robots, for cop? Like, that was the problem. Like, that original, you saw the need. Like, it was like that fucking bad. I don't get that vibe in this. In this, I'm just, it's a futuristic world. That's it. Like, you don't really need a Robocop. Even, like, because they don't even really show you that, like, the regular police can't handle it. Because that's one of the things they really hammered home in the original. Is that the cops needed that help because the cops weren't enough. In this, it's like, honestly, I feel like the cops are enough. Do you really need a There's no need for a Robocop in this. At all. They just, we're going to do a Robocop remake, but we're not even going to show you why there's a need for one. Because that, I'm going to reiterate, the original showed you the need. There's none for this one. So, we see him, like, trained. There's the initial scene where he freaks out, which I fucking hate. I don't like Robocop all, like, angry. He's, like, screaming. It's like, what the fuck? Robocop should be, like, a machine, practically. But I don't know what they were going for with this. Let's have a mix of emotions and, like, no. The original did that right, too. That they took the emotion out of it. Because, yeah. Like, having him be all that emotional, it just took me out of it. And it also doesn't make me feel like I'm watching a Robocop movie. It just makes me feel like I'm watching a guy in armor suit movie. Like, you don't get the vibe at all. Like, that suit he has is at all like a robot. Like, that Robocop suit in the original feels like a machine suit, It doesn't just feel like it's like an armor suit. It actually feels like a machine. In this, it just feels like, oh, it's just a machine suit. Like, you know, or like a, not even a machine suit, just like an big thing of armor that you would see in like a Crisis game or something. And then they painted it black. Because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't mind the original design they had. Like that first one, it looked like a somewhat sleeker version of the original. And then they painted it black, and it looked bad, man. And then he has this motorcycle, and like the thing on his eye is like red. What the fuck were they going for with this movie, man? I think the thing is, if this wasn't RoboCop and you tweak that, and that suit he has on is just a suit, not like a fucking, he's an actual machine. I actually think you could make this a solid like action, you know, late 2010, mid 2010s action flick. You know, that's not great, but that could have been solid. Because the real issue I mainly have with this movie is it has the name RoboCop in it. Because it has nothing from that original. RoboCop didn't, when he became a machine, well, you know, when they first put him in the RoboCop suit, he's a robot. He's not like freaking out. Like, why did they do that? But anyway, so then we see him train, and I like Jackie Earle Haley, you know, but he just feels like he's just there. Like, it just feels like they're all there for a paycheck, and it just feels like it. So, he starts doing, like, missions, and, you know, does good. But then they start, like, they're trying to, like, get rid of, at least Raymond wants to get rid of, like, that emotional side, because they feel like his wife's getting in the way, because throughout the film, like, his wife tries to tell him, oh, your son has nightmares about your death, and it's so hammed in, man. I don't care. Like, by this point, I don't care about his family. They terrible, and it's awful, because I like the concept of actually, in the beginning, granted, I like how we learned throughout in the original stuff about his family, but I actually don't mind the concept of, we're going to show it a little bit of it. But no, they got I don't know if it was the actress and the kid, but God, granted, it's his fault too. He's just as dull. Like, every scene, I'm just, So, minutes before RoboCop's gonna be, like, unveiled to the world, he starts, like, freaking out, and it's supposed to be, like, a play on, like, you know how in the original he starts, like, remembering, but in that, it's done well, and he also still in the helmet. In this, he's, like, all freaking out and making these cringy faces, and I'm like, I can't take this shit seriously, dude. So, to deteriorate that, they decide to basically, this is where we get that reveal from, Dennett. I think it's Dennett, not Bennett. That they're actually in, like, there's like an AI in control. Not AI, but like something else is in control, and it makes it seem like RoboCop has control, which, why didn't they just do that from the beginning? Because that's essentially what they did in the original movie. Why didn't they just do that from the beginning? But the problem is, Joel Kinnaman did not do a good, even though he has no emotion in this, because just the way he's delivering lines, but it's not good robotic to where it sounds like a legit robot. It's just bad. Like, even when he tries to be, like, robotic, it just is bad. So there's that scene, he notices, like, a criminal in the crowd, takes him down, okay. And, like, his wife wants him to remember, and I don't care about none of this shit. And then, I think what, Sellers comes out, this is basically where it's kind of shown because before, you just kind of see him as, like, a sleazy business dude. They don't really make it, like, outright obvious he's the villain. Until this scene, and basically he has, his wife think that he's dead, and and this is where he starts remembering, and he hunts down the guy who had him killed, and this is where we get the revelation that it was actually some police who were in on it, which, that just felt so tactfully dropped in, like, badly dropped in. Like, a police cover-up, okay, that could be cool, but why did you drop that, like, halfway, like, almost, not even halfway, like, almost when the movie's over? Like, okay, so now we're just gonna get that reveal that, oh, the police set him up? okay, that could have been interesting. Like the thing is, honestly, if you just took the name RoboCop out of it and made its own thing, it and you still have it be rated R, and you could maybe have it be in the spirit of RoboCop, it could work. But trying to force it to be RoboCop just didn't work. It just the R rating, just lack of it doesn't work because every time he shoots somebody, it's just quick. He shoots somebody and they fall. You don't see any blood really. You do see like his brain, but like they almost like almost drain the blood out, so you don't notice it. But it's like you're seeing his brain, like you're seeing him operate on his brain, and like you see his bottom. Like that should be way more blood. But anyway, so he confronts the officers who did it, and then he confronts Sellers, but Sellers has his family hostage, you know, because you got to do that shit. And this is where we get one of the cringiest. This is probably like next to like that scene I talked about with his family is the cringiest scene in the whole movie. Dead or alive, you're coming with me, and he said it like that. What the fuck? Oh my god, I didn't really even remember that from the first time. He really did that. And the problem is, when he said it in the original, he says it like a machine. Dead or alive, you're coming with me. Like, and it has that, like, emphasis. In this, it's like, he says it all angry, and it just, no. And then his fucking faceplate's off, of course. We can't have him in the helmet. And Sellers shoots him, but he shoots Sellers. Sellers dies. He's getting operated on, and his family. It has like the weirdest ending, because like his family walks in, and then it just the things are closed, like the doors are closing, and then that's it. You don't even see what happens. It's like this movie is absolute garbage. The sad thing is, you have a solid cast here, but honestly, the RoboCop didn't need a remake. And let's be honest, 3 already kind of hurt it as it was, because 3 isn't that good. It's hard for me to recommend and say watch 3. I would say watch 1. I would say watch 2 too, to be honest. RoboCop 2 is pretty good. But definitely just watch those 2. Because 3 is not good, and this is just absolute dog shit. This just isn't good. Like, Sellers is a generic bad guy, and they don't even really show you he's a bad guy. Like, in the beginning, he just comes off like a sleazy. Like, because sleazy is bad, but it's not inherently evil. He's just kind of like a sleazy opportunist, you know? But then, why is Samuel L. Jackson in this movie? He just, it feels like every time he's on screen, it's just intermission, almost. He doesn't have any actual role in this movie. And I almost feel like it would be a bait and switch, because in the marketing, at least one of the trailers, I remember seeing at the time, because it was 2014, they made it seem like he was gonna be a big part of the movie. He's barely in it, and he's just, like, he's intermission. It's just, oh, we're gonna cut him talking about stuff. He's like the news person, that's it. We just cut to him every now and then. Like, there should have been a scene where him and Sellers, I don't even think him and Sellers had a scene together. And it's sad, because you have 2 good actors, you could actually easily, at least throughout this 2-hour piece of shit, I could have had 1 good scene. No, you don't even have them together. Because that could have been gold to see them on screen together, having a back and forth. Nope. Such a bad movie. Such a waste of time. Joel Kinnaman, no disrespect to him, he's a good actor. I've seen him in other good stuff. Or not even good stuff, but I've seen him do good in stuff, even shit. But in this, he is... even before the suit, he is just boring. Like, the scenes with his family are absolute pain. Like, every time, like, the kid, I think there was like a scene specifically, it was between him and his son. I'm like, oh my fucking god, I just wanted to rewind it so bad. Not rewind it, fast forward so bad. I was like, what is this? They, like, literally every line they deliver is so deadpan. And even, like, when, you know, he gets shot, RoboCop, his wife and kid, they don't even, like, there's no emotion there. It's just, it's an absolute abysmal movie. They took everything great about the original and just threw it out. You don't even have that, like, relationship with him and Lewis. Fine. I could live if you make genders race swap him fine because it's a new iteration and it's not like comics necessarily. I'm more like race swapping comics. I'm more like angry at, but in this it's like fine. But at least give him that like camaraderie. You don't even have that in this. Lewis is not even a player in the movie. You see him just kind of sporadically and randomly in the movie. This is so bad. The R rating, the no R rating, hurt it. It just, I got no words. Don't watch this movie, especially if you love the original. Do not watch it. It's not needed. I don't understand why Hollywood thought this was a good idea. Robocop didn't need a reboot. Honestly, you could have that's one you could just leave alone. Because 3 is already not really well received anyway. Just left it at that. This wasn't needed because this is almost like, even though it's a reboot, it's like a coffin for Robocop because I don't want another Robocop. Even if they get Peter Welling back or something, I don't really see where you can go with the story. And all I fear on a Robocop, if they, even with a Peter Welling back, it would just be a retread of the original. Just leave it alone. Especially after this atrocity that happened. I don't understand what they were going for with this. And you could tell if it had done well, they would have done a sequel. Which would have been unfortunate. Which I'm happy that it was a giant flop and that we never got another one in this one. Because this wasn't needed. This was an unnecessary reboot. And you took everything great about the original and just shit on it. The stuff with his family, you don't even have that in this. His family in this they're so bad. Even Gary Oldman didn't carry this movie. Because I've seen Gary Oldman in other bad movies, and he still carries it when he's on screen. He didn't do that for me in this. It's just,